Hello. Today I will show you how to edit videos in Blender. If you are in a rush, like you have a deadline or something and you need to learn ASAP, then click on the next chapter right here. If you're not in a rush, then I'll give a bit of a foreword before we dive in. Now, if you're new to this stuff, Blender is a free and open source program that's well known for its tools for making 3D art. The program is incredibly light compared to its vast tools and capabilities. And I have no idea why nobody ever talks about how nice editing videos is on here. The playback is so smooth, the tools are simple but they're versatile. I've had pretty much zero problems with crashing or files corrupting, and it's just a breeze to operate and use. I suspect part of the reason it's kind of slept on is because learning Blender is thought of by many artists to be a daunting task, an intimidating learning curve to embark on for those unfamiliar with 3D programs and processes. So here is my promise to you. If you are able to get comfortable with editing videos in the Blender video editor, chopping up videos and audio, arranging them on the timeline, and navigating this one screen of tools and windows, then learning to do anything else that you may be interested in doing in Blender will be a much easier and less daunting feat, because many of the shortcuts and tools used for navigating and editing in the video editor are universal to all of Blender. A lot of what I'm going to teach you today will work for most of the different workflows in this program. Also, if you're already at least somewhat familiar with navigating Blender, then learning the video editor will be even easier for you. The last thing I'll say before we start is that the Blender video editor's biggest appeal to me is its simplicity. If you're after heavier compositing or like complicated effects and stuff, you can do most of that here, but you might want to seek out something like DaVinci Resolve. If you're just looking for arranging audio and video, simple transitions and tweens, and minimal compositing and effects, then you are in the right place, my friend. At the end of the video, I'll give you this small cheat sheet that has all the shortcuts I talk about, so don't worry about taking note of all of those. Okay, let's get it. Okay, to get started, let's start a new video editing file by clicking here, and then we are greeted with an empty file in the video editing workspace. This is the file explorer if you want to use it, but I never really use it. This is the timeline, this is the preview window, and these are the output and properties panels. Let's start with the timeline. You zoom in and out with the scroll wheel, and you use the middle mouse button to pan around. If you don't have a middle mouse button because you're on a laptop or something, there's an option to emulate the middle mouse if you go here and here. These values in the corner denote the start and end frames of the video project. This number is the frame that you're currently viewing. By default, the video is 250 frames long, which we can see here is a bit over 10 seconds. With these value boxes, we can click and drag left or right to decrease or increase the value. Up here in the output properties is where we can edit things like the resolution of the project, the frame rate, project length again, the file location of where Blender will render the final video, and miscellaneous render settings that we can mess with later before we export. To import media onto the timeline, you can drag videos, images, and audio straight from any file explorer onto the track like so, or you can use Shift A to add elements like audio, video, or images. You can arrange the clips however you'd like on the different channels on the timeline. You can disable, enable, and lock the different channels with these buttons right here. I usually try to keep my audio on the bottom channels and my visuals above, but you can truly arrange them however you want. When you add a video to the project, there will be a proxy file created in the folder that the video is stored in. These are compressed copies of that video that Blender uses so that editing is smooth. To start editing video, audio, and images on the timeline, you click clips to select them, press G to grab them, and click again to confirm the position. You click and drag the ends of clips to extend or shorten their duration. You scrub through the timeline by clicking and dragging this blue playhead up here. You can press K to cut clips where the playhead is, and you can press X to delete clips. To copy and paste stuff, you can use the usual Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, or you can use Shift-D for duplicate. Pressing the spacebar plays the video, and you can use these buttons to jump to the beginning and end of the timeline, and you can play it in reverse if you want. If you hover over a lot of different buttons and boxes in Blender, it'll usually tell you what it is and the default shortcut for it. Down here at this little corner pop-up, we can change some of the playback settings. We can have playback prioritize playing every frame, or we can have it prioritize syncing visuals with audio. And here we can toggle audio playback and audio scrubbing while we're editing. By default, when you import videos, they are linked to their accompanying audio, so if you'd like to unlink them, you can select the clip, right-click, and disconnect them. Snapping is also enabled by default, so clips will snap to one another when their edges are brought close to each other. If you'd like to disable snapping, you can click this magnet button, or you can press Shift Tab. When a clip is selected, we can click up here to the Properties channel and edit its properties. For audio, we can adjust the volume, and for video and images, we can change the blending mode, we can crop the edges, and we can edit a bunch of these transformations of position, size, and rotation, but we can also edit these by hand in the preview window. Editing in this preview window has the same controls as the timeline. Click to select, G to grab, X to delete, only now we can also use S to scale and change the size of the image, and R to rotate. When transforming, you can lock the transformation to the X or Y axis by pressing X or Y or clicking the middle mouse. So if I want to slide this along the X axis, I click, press G, and then I press X, and then I can slide it left and right like so. This also works on the timeline, which I use a lot to move clips straight up and down to another channel. Click, hit G, and then hit Y so that I can slide it straight up and down. Back on the timeline, if we hit Shift A again, we can look at some of the other stuff we can add. Text boxes and color backgrounds, which you can edit in the Properties panel. Adjustment layers for editing colors if you have a clip selected, as well as effects like adding blur. When scrubbing around on the timeline, you can press M to make markers, and you can double click them to rename them. This is super useful for making notes for timing and visual cues and stuff. For visuals and audio on the timeline, you can right click and add automatic fading in and out. If you'd like more control over the timing, you can move the playhead to where you want the fading to end, right click and fade to current frame, and it'll fade to the current frame. The same can be done for fading out. If you go to where you'd like it to start, right click and fade from the current frame, it'll fade from the current frame. You can get rid of any fade transitions you've made on the clip by right clicking and clearing the fade. Fading this way automatically tweens them to ease in and out. If you'd like more control over that transition, I'll show you how to do that when I show you how to tween other properties. But first, let me show you how to export. So real quick, let's double check the project specs from earlier and run down these export settings. The resolution and frame rate look good, and let's make sure Blender will output in the folder that we want. I usually have the color management follow the scene, which just follows whatever video files you've imported. These two settings make the final exported video an MP4 file, which is good. This is medium quality by default, but I'll usually change this to high if I'm doing my final render. And these audio settings are pretty good by default. Once everything looks good and you're ready to export, you just go up to Render and Render Animation. This window will pop up and show you each frame as it's rendering out the final file. You can see which frame it's on in the corner right here. Just give it some time and it'll stop once it reaches the final frame. Once it's all done, you should have an MP4 file that's sitting in the folder that you directed it to export to. Any channels on the timeline that are disabled won't be included in the final render, and if you close the rendering window before it's done, the MP4 file will just end wherever it got to. And now you know how to edit videos in Blender. Before we call it quits today, I'm going to give you some extra useful ball knowledge, and then I'll briefly teach you the basics of tweening on here. These value boxes that I told you about earlier that you can click and slide left and right to decrease and increase the value of, if you need to copy and paste values from them, like say I want to copy the current frame to be the new end frame, I can simply hover my mouse over this one, Control C, and then hover over my target and Control V. You don't need to click into the boxes. This works for a lot of the different value input boxes in Blender. To change multiple stacked value boxes at once, you can click and drag down to select multiple, and they'll be edited proportionally to each other. When sliding the mouse to change the value, you can also hold Shift to get more precise movement. Holding Shift also works when transforming elements in the preview window and on the timeline. This is super duper useful for precise movement and adjustments. Okay, if you still have room in your brain, I'm going to teach you how to tween transformations. If everything so far was a lot to process, then here are the notes from today, and you can come back and learn tweening once you're comfortable with everything else. Okay, with all the media clips, each property that has a dot to the right of it means that that property is able to be tweened, which means that we can change the value of that property over a period of time. Fading in and out was us tweening the opacity property. The fade in was tweening the opacity from 0% and transitioning it smoothly to 100%, and so on and so forth. The easiest way to tween is to turn on auto keying, which automatically creates keyframes when we transform objects. So let's toggle auto keying by clicking this button, and let's just make this video slide into the frame from left to right. To make the first keyframe, I'll go to where I want the tween to end, I'll click to select, press G to grab, and I'll press enter to confirm so it doesn't move, and now the first keyframe is made. Then I'm going to go to where I want it to start, press G to grab, and X to slide it over here, and this makes the starting keyframe. And then when I scrub over the timeline, we can see that it now transitions from this keyframe to the first one that we made. This works with rotation, scale, opacity, etc. Right now, the bottom panel is the timeline because it has video sequencer selected, but if we click and change it from video sequencer to dope sheet, we can see this dope ass sheet that has all the tweening keyframes in it. If I expand down here, we can see which properties are being tweened when. The top dot is the summary that controls all the keyframes below it. If we select a keyframe and right click it, we can change its interpolation from smooth, linear, and constant. There's also a lot of other different fun options for different tweens between keyframes. This dope sheet is the same as all the other timelines. G is to grab, X is to delete, you can drag to select multiple, and I is to make a new keyframe. With auto keying, you can also make keyframes with transformations while the video is playing. So if I press play and then move the stuff around, the mouse movement will be tweened into the playback. Yeah, you know how to edit videos now, bruh. You can do a lot of crazy stuff in this video editor, but I just wanted to show off the basics and get people started. You can look at tutorials and guides on how to do the crazier stuff. Please experiment and make videos and art and movies with your friends. Tell stories and make each other laugh, bro, please. Make each other smile, bro, please, please. Here is your official certificate that you passed my class, and here is the cheat sheet with the shortcuts that I talked about today. You can screenshot it or just come back whenever you need a refresh. Thank you, bye bye.